Hi, my name is Abby Raymond, and I am the clarinet teacher at the Metropolitan State University of Denver. And I was going to give you my thoughts on these all-state audition etudes, Rose Etude number 19 and number 20. So let's look at number 19 first. The tempo that is required for your all-state audition is eighth note equals 84, which is pretty slow. I would encourage you to think of this in quarter notes and subdivided quarter notes, since it is in 3/4. If we think of it in straight eighth notes at 84, then we have kind of 6 beats per measure. But if I do a subdivided quarter note, which would make our quarter note 42, then I have more of a sense of kind of the longer quarter note beat, which is what you want for this etude because it's lyrical and you want to show the line in the music. Do practice this with the metronome to make sure that you're staying even. It's easy to kind of speed up and slow down, and even once in a while you might find yourself doubling or having the tempo with hearing that eighth note pulse. So to prevent that, you want to look at the rhythm before you start practicing. Make sure you understand it. Write in the beats for any measures that seem at all confusing. And I would, before you play it, practice counting and clapping it. Practice counting it out loud, so you know that you completely understand how the rhythm fits into the beats. So if I were to do that at the beginning, I would count like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and 2. So like that. I count whatever I want to subdivide, and I clap on the notes that I would play when I change notes. Another thing you can do is count out loud and finger the notes. So this is kind of a bridge where you're still really thinking about the rhythm, but you're adding your fingers. Then when you're really confident that you understand the rhythm, then start to play it. And as you're playing it, make sure that you're counting the beats in your head. So you're always keeping track of where you are in the measure. I think the most common mistakes that students make on these slow etudes are rhythmic mistakes. So you want to make sure your recording stands out as being just 100% rhythmically accurate and steady. Another thing we have to consider in this slow etude is where we're going to breathe. So of course we'll breathe before you start. Take a really comfortable, nice deep breath, and then breathe in your rest in measure 2. Then I would recommend breathing in measure 4 between the slurs. So between 2 and the and of 2, between the low A and the octave above. And then the same spot in the measure in measure 5. So that way you can get all the way to your next 8th rest in measure 8. So I'll play the end of measure 3 so you can hear those breaths. And then I'll go all the way to the 8th rest. So they're just quick breaths. I don't add any extra time. They're close together, but then I can get all the way through the next bars. So the next, starting the pickup to measure 9, we go all the way to measure 14 without any rests. So I would breathe in measure 9 between 2 and the and of 2, and then in measure 11 on beat 2, and if needed, in measure 12 on beat 2. You want to be able to get through 12, 13, and 14 without taking a breath. Since you're crescendoing, to forte and then sustaining that forte in 13 and 14, you want to make sure you definitely have enough air to get through that. So if I play that from the pickup to measure 9, and you might choose to leave out the last breath there in measure 12 if you don't need it. Or you could take the one in 11 but not in 12. But I think those are the best options, and you just want to have enough air to play the volume you want to play. The other thing with this one is to make sure you do the dynamics on the page. So we've got several crescendos and hairpins, crescendos, decrescendos, and make sure you end forte. The dynamic at the beginning is a little ambiguous. We don't have a dynamic. It only says dolce espressivo, which means sweetly expressive. So to me, I would interpret that as a piano or mezzo piano dynamic. So watch your rhythm, breathe in places that make sense and that work for you, and make sure you play the dynamics and play expressively.